All right, so everyone's talking about this new Core Ultra 9 285K from Intel. And we're going to take a deep dive into it, all the early reviews and benchmarks, see if this thing lives up to the hype. It's not just a typical CPU launch. This is their first desktop chip with a built-in NPU, which is a huge deal for AI. But here's the thing. In some cases, it's actually worse for gaming. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, it seems like. Intel's kind of changing their thinking a little bit. I mean, they've always been about raw performance, but this time around it seems like they're putting a lot more emphasis on efficiency. And, that leads to some interesting trade-offs.
Yeah, the efficiency gains are pretty amazing. I mean, getting more performance out of less power, that's good for everybody, right?
Exactly. Think about it this way. Lower power consumption means less heat, which means quieter systems, and potentially longer lifespan for your components. And if you're worried about your energy bill, that's a big win too.
Okay, so how are they doing this? What's different about this architecture? Well, without getting too technical, there's a few clever design choices they've made. They've really optimized how the cores communicate with each other and with the rest of the system. And they've got some new power management features that adjust the performance of the chip based on the workload. So it can sip power when you're just browsing the web, but unleash the full potential when you're doing something demanding, like 3D rendering or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's go back to the gaming thing for a sec, because some benchmarks show that it's outperforming its predecessor, but then it falls flat in others, especially in games like Forza Motorsport. What's going on there?
Yeah, it seems like this focus on performance per watt, squeezing more performance out of every watt, seems to have come with a cost. And in some games, raw horsepower is still king.
So it's like trading blows almost. Like gaining efficiency here, but sacrificing performance there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then there's this whole other layer, too, with Windows 11 and this VBS thing.
Yeah. VBS stands for Virtualization-Based Security. It's a feature in Windows 11 that enhances system security, but it seems like it's impacting gaming performance, especially on this new chip. One of the reviewers that we looked at found that if you disable a component of VBS called memory integrity, it actually closes the performance gap, and in some cases even gives the 285K a slight edge over the 14900K.
Oh, wow. So you're saying that Windows itself might be holding back the 285K?
It's a possibility. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. We'll see if Microsoft or Intel addresses it in the future.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got this super efficient CPU. It runs cool. It seems to perform well in certain tasks, but maybe not so much in gaming. And we've got this Windows 11 mystery, potentially influencing the results. But what about the platform itself? I mean, this comes with a new socket, new motherboards.
Right. So it uses the LGA 1851 socket and requires a Z890 motherboard. But those motherboards are packed with features, more PCIe lanes, faster USB ports, even integrated Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3. It's designed to handle the demands of future tech.
Sounds pretty future-proof. But there's always a catch, right?
Well, there's some rumors that Intel might be skipping their usual TikTok release cycle and jumping straight to a completely new architecture called Nova Lake. So that could mean that LGA 1851 has a shorter lifespan than we're used to from Intel.
Ooh.
So if you invest in a Z890 motherboard now, you might need to upgrade again sooner than you'd like.
So it's a bit of a gamble?
Yeah, I'd say so. And we haven't even talked about the competition yet.
Oh, that's right. AMD is out there with their Ryzen CPUs.
And they've been making some big moves in the gaming world. So how does the 285K stack up against them? Okay, so we've kind of set the scene here. This 285K, super efficient, but maybe not the gaming king we thought it would be. How does it compare to those Ryzen CPUs from AMD? Especially those X3D ones. They're known for just
dominating games.
Yeah, if you're a gamer and you really, care about those extra frames per second, especially in those like big AAA games. AMD does seem to have the upper hand right now. I mean, their 7800 X3D is already outperforming the 285K in a lot of games. And they're about to release their 9000 series with 3D V-Cache as well, which, those are going to be really pushing things even further.
So AMD has the gaming crown right now.
It seems that way, at least for pure gaming performance. But, not everybody is building a PC just for gaming.
Right.
So what about folks that are using their computers for more than just crushing those virtual enemies? What if you're a content creator?
Yeah.
Or a video editor? Or streamer or something?
Yeah, that's a good point. Does that efficiency make it a better choice for those users?
It could, absolutely, because the 285K really shines when it comes to multi-core performance, and that's essential for those demanding tasks like video editing and 3D rendering and software development. And it's consistently outperforming the 14900K in those benchmarks, like Cinebench and Geekbench.
Right.
And it's doing it all while using less power and generating less heat.
Right. So I guess for those users, the lower power consumption could actually save them money in the long run, both on their electricity bills and, you know, potentially by extending the life of their components.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the integrated NPU, which is something that AMD doesn't offer right now in their desktop CPUs.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole world of possibilities for AI. Imagine things like real-time video enhancement or noise reduction in audio recordings, or even personalized learning experiences powered by AI.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. One of the reviews we were looking at mentioned that even though the 285K generally runs cooler than the 14900K, it still hit 85 degrees Celsius under load. That's still pretty hot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. But it's important to remember that 85 degrees is still well within the safe operating temperature range for modern CPUs. And compared to the 14900K hitting 99 degrees, the 285K is actually a significant improvement.
Right. So it's not just about chasing the lowest possible temperature. It's about maintaining a comfortable and sustainable level of heat for optimal performance.
Yeah. And remember those anecdotes about the lower coolant temps. That suggests that the 285K is just dissipating heat more effectively overall, which is a good sign for long-term reliability.
Okay, so we've got this efficient CPU. It seems to be good at these multi-core tasks, and it has this built-in NPU for AI.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking about that whole Windows 11 VBS thing.
For gamers. Is there any news on that front? Any indication that Microsoft or Intel are going to do something about it?
You know, it's still early days, but it's definitely something that both companies are aware of. Remember, this is a brand new CPU, a new platform, and we're still in the early stages of understanding how all these components interact with each other, including the operating system. Intel has said that VBS should have less of a performance impact on the Core Ultra series compared to previous generations. But whether that's actually noticeable in real-world gaming scenarios remains to be seen.
For gamers, considering the 285K, maybe wait and see how this whole VBS thing plays out. Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I mean, there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
But there are also some unknowns that could significantly impact the overall gaming experience.
And then there's that whole platform longevity thing. Spending all that money on a new Z890 motherboard, only to have become obsolete in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where AMD's commitment to their AM5 platform until at least 2027 gives them a real advantage. You know you can invest in an AM5 motherboard today and feel confident that it will support future generations of AMD CPUs. So that gives you a lot more upgrade flexibility down the road. Intel, on the other hand, they've been known to change sockets more frequently, which, you know, can be frustrating for consumers.
Frustrating is putting it mildly. But hey, maybe Intel will surprise us. Maybe they'll stick with LGA 1851 for a while. We can hope, right?
We can always hope. But if you're making a purchasing decision right now, it's important to weigh those potential risks.
Okay, so we talked about the performance, the efficiency, the platform, the competition. But the big question is it worth it? Is this Core Ultra 9 285K worth it? All right, so we've looked at this new Core Ultra 9 285K from Intel inside and out. Powerful chip, no doubt. But some things we got to think about, some question marks. So should you actually buy this thing?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like most things in tech, it really depends on your individual needs, your priorities, and maybe even your tolerance for a little bit of risk.
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's say you're a gamer. Should you buy the 285K?
If you're all about, you know, squeezing out every last frame per second, especially in those demanding games, I'd say AMD is probably the way to go right now. Yeah. Either the 7800X3D or wait for those 9000 series chips with 3D V-Cache. They're just have the edge in gaming performance. And you've got that AM5 platform. It's got a longer lifespan as far as upgrades go.
Right. But what if you're not just a gamer? Maybe you do. Content creation, video editing, streaming. Do those efficiency gains start to matter more?
They definitely do. I mean, those multi-core performance gains that we saw in Cinebench and all those other benchmarks, that's going to make a real difference when you're doing those kinds of tasks. You know, faster rendering times, smoother video editing. You're not going to be waiting around for your computer to catch up, and less power consumption, lower temperatures. It means your system isn't working as hard. It could even last longer.
Right. And then there's the NPU.
Right.
Which, like you said, AMD doesn't have anything like that right now.
Yeah, that's a big deal. It's like having this dedicated chip just for AI tasks, you know. As AI becomes more and more important, having that extra horsepower is going to be huge. You could be editing videos with AI tools, enhancing your photos and music, all sorts of stuff.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
maybe this 285K, it's a bit of a niche product right now.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best for gaming, but really good for content creation.
Yeah.
It's kind of a glimpse into the future. What about you? Would you buy it?
I think, personally, I'm going to wait a little bit. I like the idea of the NPU, and those efficiency gains are really impressive. But that uncertainty around the platform, the LGA 1851 socket, makes me a little hesitant. I'd rather see what the next generation looks like before I invest that much money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Always need to be cautious with new tech. But what about our listeners? What do you guys think? Is the 285K right for you? Are you tempted by those new features? Or are you worried about the gaming performance?
What?
And
Platform. Let us know in the comments. What do you think about Intel's new approach here? Is this the right CPU for you?
And here's the final thought. What happens if Intel keeps doing this? What if they keep focusing on efficiency over raw performance? What does that mean for PC gaming?
That's a good question. It could be the start of a big shift towards more sustainable computing, lower power consumption. But you know gamers, they always want the best performance. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it definitely will. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Hope you learned a thing or two about this new Core Ultra 9 285K. Until next time, happy computing, everyone. Happy